Wallace Lake is one of the larger saltwater lakes on the east coast. It has a very large area of seagrass, both Posidonia, Zostera and some other species. It's got a unique assemblage of sponges and it's one of the largest oyster producing estuaries in New South Wales as well. I've been working in Wallis Lake for the last several years and really in response to some concerns that were raised by oyster farmers and fishermen about some declines in oyster production and prawns. And we set up a group with Council and LLS, fisheries and those two industries really to start to look at what might be the causes underlying some of those changes that were being observed. One of the things that we did as part of the Wallace Lake project was to do an oral history component. So we went and spoke to some of the older fishermen and some of the new fishermen and oyster farmers that were coming through about what they'd observed changing in the lake over the last few decades or their lifetime, and that was really, really interesting, and that's helped us understand the processes that are happening and will inform our adaptation responses.
As a young child living down Point Road, you know, the fishing community down there, a lot of the older guys, the old launches, the diesel launches and the older characters, the Italian fishermen, you know, just iconic people in the industry, and that was always mesmerising to me, and just I think I was really blessed about that opportunity to see that, to talk to a lot of those people. But something about Wallace Lake that is just amazing, its ability to, you know, for fish to grow and creatures to live. The habitat that's there, the seagrasses, you know, once you get out in that water and you start seeing what's actually there, you realise it's a pretty amazing little place. And I think it's one thing that Council and anyone in the authority has that accountability to preserve that and to look after that. So I think as we go as a community with development, how we treat the wetlands, how we treat land itself, the practices of what we use on the water, how we respect the resources, you just learn that if you look after it, well, it'll look after us, whoever uses those waterways.
A lot of people have heard of climate change obviously, but changes in the catchment also have a pretty big impact on the estuary, and so we've been looking at things like how the breakwalls at the entrance have affected the way the lake functions, the amount of sand that's around the entrance, the tidal range and how that affects oyster farming and also other habitats around the lake. And we've drawn on experts in the field, looked at the data and shared that data and that knowledge with the relevant industries and really trying to grow that knowledge and understanding of how the system functions. There's been a number of researchers that have come to the area and investigated various things. So we've learned a lot about how to improve crab trap designs. We've looked at water quality issues and how the water circulates through the lake. We've looked at how the tidal range has changed as a result of the breakwalls. We've investigated the habitat value of oyster infrastructure. Recent work by Ben Gilby is looking at how we can prioritise future restoration efforts.
So what we're doing is we're surveying all the various estuarine habitats in this system. We have a particular focus on the wonderful oyster reefs of this system to try and identify what types of oyster reefs and the positions of oyster reefs in the river that really maximise the value of those spots for fish. And we've been deploying two different types of survey methods here in this region. The first is called Baited Remote Underwater Video Stations, or BRUVs for short. Basically what it is it's a weight with a GoPro on top of that. Out in front of that there's a PVC pipe, and at the end of that we have a bait bag. So throughout these systems we're deploying about 50 to 60 of these units to get an idea of the overall distribution of fish. The second method that we're using is very similar in concept, but instead of baited remote underwater video stations, these ones are simply called remote underwater video stations. So the RUVs, the unbaited cameras, are excellent at getting those habitat-specific patterns in the distribution of fish. So we can, for example, deploy the RUVs right next to some oyster infrastructure or right next to a lovely seagrass bed and actually see the fish actively moving in and out of those habitats to get an idea of the distribution and abundance of fish in those spots.
It was really great working with the University of Sunshine Coast and Ben in particular around using those baited videos and unbaited videos to understand the mosaic of habitats and where we could place future oyster reefs to maximise the benefits for habitat. And we really want to go out to the community now and talk to them about those potential sites and get them on board with that kind of restoration effort. So I think that'll be a really critical piece of work for us and really drive where and how we do that restoration in the future. Another university project we're doing at the moment is with Finn, and he's with the University of Newcastle, and we've established a water quality sensor network, and we're monitoring the weather as well, including air temperature, and that's looking at how things like climate change and hotter days might be impacting oysters and their health.
We've installed 6 real-time data sensors around Wallis Lake that provide us currently with air and water temperature. We also have a weather station that provides us with rainfall, wind and humidity, and we're looking to install salinity loggers at all those sensors in the future. So with this sensor network, we can provide real-time data to farmers that they're able to access, which will help them make real-time decisions on the conditions that their oysters are exposed to, so how their environmental conditions will impact their commercial stock.
We've also been working with the Fishermen's Co-op for a number of years, and that partnership's been really great, and we've been able to tap into all the fishermen that are a member of the co-op, and that's given us lots of different perspectives and a good understanding of how to approach different issues.
Local land services and council have a great relationship with I think the whole industry, the whole fishing industry. It's important for the fishermen to have sustainability in the lake, and they generally get on board with any of those projects. The lake is their livelihood. If they can do something to make it a better system that they can work in, they'll do anything that they can. We all thrive on it. It really affects the whole community.
Council in particular have had a strong focus on water quality in Wallace Lake, both in urban environments. Council's done a great deal of work improving stormwater, installing water sensitive devices, and been a real leader in that space. And we've worked together in the catchment as well to try and address some of those diffuse source pollutions, agricultural runoff, that sort of thing. At the same time, we're working in the water to try and improve their habitat values, and that's where things like oyster reefs and riverbank restoration come in. So all the work we've been doing together with a whole range of partners has really seen some benefits in water quality in Wallace Lake. Even the most recent works we've been monitoring with the University of Newcastle have shown some benefits there, increasing sort of fish and invertebrates around there and helping promote the growth of mangroves, and so some really great outcomes, and we're really looking forward to continuing that. When you manage a whole catchment or a whole estuary, you've really got to have everybody on board, and it's such a great resource to have these oyster farmers and fishermen that have worked on the lake their whole lives. They're out there all the time, they see all this stuff happening and changes, and to have them working with us is really great, and they want to share that knowledge with the rest of the community, and we're really working towards that. So we want to encourage the community to come and learn more about the lake and enjoy it, value it and help to protect it.